This video is brought to you by Sporlan. Quality, integrity, and tradition.
We are back at the scene of the crime. If you guys remember, this is one that I had go down over a weekend. I had to do an emergency replacement with this exhaust fan. Long story short, the restaurant's always had a problem with the ductwork, and they realized that even with the new fan, which is supplied by the restaurant, they purchase it direct. Even with the new fan, the restaurant's ductwork is way too long and the unit runs with way too much static pressure, so there's a problem here. So we got a hold of the manufacturer. The manufacturer calculated a few things, and they sent us out a 5 horsepower motor to install on this guy and a new drive. So we're here super early this morning so we can get this up and running as soon as possible. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this. I believe that's a 3 horsepower motor, I believe. And we're gonna slap in a 5, and then gives us a little bit more room. But we're gonna take some preliminary vitals first. All right, we're taking a baseline static pressure reading, and I'll throw a screenshot up right now and show you guys. And now we're gonna go ahead and power down the exhaust fan. We've got to change a motor. It's pretty much, the motor just looks a little bit bigger, not much. We got to change the line reactor, and then we'll do some readings after that and see what we can figure out. All right, daylight's coming out. We're doing much better now. We ran into this last time. I pointed this out, pointed out again. I'm hoping that this works. The hub is on the wrong side. Yeah, that works. So what I did was I know there's other tools that'll do this, but basically made a tool, put a socket on one end, and ran it that way, so that way we can pull it off. And then we're going to use my airbag tools to pull the wheel off safely without damaging it. Because remember, or I don't know if you guys remember or not, but this is an aluminum wheel, so or really thin galvanized if it's anything, but it bends when you pull on it, so you got to be very careful. So we're going to use the airbag tools. All right, so we're going to put some lubricant on here real quick just to help. I know this isn't your guys' favorite lubricant. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pump. Let's go slowly. Not yet. I might need to move them. Yeah, it's going slowly. Yours needs more tension. That popped off. I never have to pump it. Alright. This is a lot of pressure, so we don't want it to shoot off on us. Okay, I'm going to release because we're bending the wheel. Okay. I'm going to move mine to a different spot. Okay. I'm going to go here. Get it way down in there, closer to the hub. Yeah. I'm actually going to go one more right here. There we go. All right, here we go. You ready? Yeah, I've got tension on mine. Just get tension on yours. You okay? Here we go. Let's go together. Hold on. Careful. Yeah, but it's there. It's there. Just hold on. Let me look at your side and see how far you've gone. Forward. It moved a little bit, but not a lot. Okay. Not working. Bending the wheel. All right, so this is why I use plywood and it works better. Even with my airbag tools, this thing is proving to be a nightmare getting this dang wheel off. I'm really irritated right now with this crappy design. It's just driving me nuts, man. Because I did one of these at the shop where I used the airbag tool and I pulled the wheel off with the key, but we're having a hell of a time getting that to happen right now. It's being a pain. The problem is up in here, because this thing has a reverse hub. The hub's on the wrong side. See down here, so without damaging anything. I don't want to damage anything because I need this fan running. So I don't want the wheel bent or anything, so we're trying to be very cautious. And I was able to get the key out just a little bit, but because the set screw was run into the key like it's supposed to, the key doesn't want to come the rest of the way. So we've got 3 airbags and some plywood we're trying. Right now we're going to get some more penetrating oil because all I have is this rust buster. So I'm getting actual penetrating oil for my van. We're gonna try that. So we got the key out. I had to damn near destroy it to get it out. So hopefully I got another key because we still might not be able to do this today. We've got the airbags under there. We're trying not to bend anything, but even with the airbags, it still doesn't want to come off. This is so frustrating. All right, at this point, it's not coming off. We have 2 options. Number 1, well, the best option is to get a big Sawzall blade, chop it off, but I guess there's 2 options. What I'm gonna do is have the manufacturer send me a new wheel, and I'll have it. If I can cut that and pound the shaft out, I won't use the new wheel. But if I have to, we'll just cut it off and you know, use the new wheel and be done. So we're going to get a new key out of our van right now. We'll get this thing back up and running. This is why it's so important that you don't destroy things until you know you're good. For instance, someone would have went in there and cut the wires close to the motor and we would have been screwed. So you always approach these jobs, at least that's how I do it, like something bad can happen, you need to reuse things. We got the unit turned back on, and again, this is, we're just doing the temporary because we're gonna get a new wheel. But I wanna show you guys something. After all the work that we're using the airbags, applying pressure evenly, the wheel is still out of balance, more so than when we got here. And this just shows how stupid this design is. So I'm gonna turn it on. It's gonna get loud for a sec, but look at the wobble that the wheel has. It's just a slight wobble, but it's enough. It's enough to be a pain. So anyways, we're gonna put this guy back together, get him operational, and I'm ordering a wheel because, step back, I just don't wanna be in a bind to where we can't get it working, you know, because this restaurant can't run without this fan, so. All right, we're back to attack this thing. This time we have a wheel just in case we damage anything. We're also gonna approach this a little bit differently and completely pull the drive package off. So we're gonna lay the whole motor down. That way we're not working at a 45-degree angle, which is, I was thinking, may have hindered us a little bit too. So we've got the motor all loose, electrical locked out, turned off. We're gonna flip this guy over right now. This is what I'm talking about. Now we put something down to protect the roof because it's that rubber membrane. So we're gonna do everything we did last time and try to separate this with the airbag tool again. All right, let's see if this works now. We've got airbags going on all 3 corners. We're gonna attempt to do this without cutting the shaft, but if we can't, then we'll cut it. Yeah, I think we're okay. So we're gonna have to do something else because the airbags aren't enough, even with heat. Actually, let me do one more thing. Leave the tension on there and I'm gonna heat it up. All right, we're gonna try. Watch your faces. All right, so we tried one last thing before we cut it. We loosened the motor bolts and we're able to get channel locks on the shaft, trying to get them as much. So go ahead and spin it. Back and forth, tiny turns. There you go, tiny turns. Okay, stop, you're spinning, hold on. We ended up cutting it off, so go ahead and pull it off. Just move it back and forth. See if we can get it to pop free. There we go. All right, now we're gonna put everything back together. It's very frustrating that I had to cut the shaft because I wanted to keep this motor as an emergency replacement, but that's not the case. So now we're just basically doing the switch over, changing the electrical over. We have someone down changing the VFD. We got to put a new line reactor on, and then we'll mount the new wheel and everything back on and go from there. Got the new wheel on. We made sure that we left the key sticking out just a little bit, but I also made sure that it's going down and getting hit by the set screw. That way someone can actually take it off. This is kind of peculiar to me though. When you go around here, look at this. there's 2 holes that someone drilled with the drill bit, and they've got burrs coming out of them. Hopefully that was purpose, because if you go to this side and there's a balancing rivet, so it's like, why did we drill holes? I hope that's not damage, but well, we're in it to win it now. So we're all connected, we're ready, we're gonna get some help and lift this thing back up on top of that fan. Okay, we have the fan on and running. I'm a little baffled by the numbers. Before we were running 4.1 amps with 2.95 inches of total external static. Now we've got 2.48 inches of total external static and we're running 6.5 amps, which is a little counterintuitive because it seems like we're actually going slower. Again, I don't have the tools to measure the airflow, so the manufacturer is going to come out and verify airflow. And just to reaffirm, I'm not the one that wanted to change this motor. This was shipped out as a solution because they engineered and figured out that if they changed that motor, that it would work correctly. So I'm just the person doing what I'm told. So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully this doesn't affect their air pull, because it honestly seems like it's pulling less air at the moment, but we will see. So we're pretty much done right now until the manufacturer comes out. So this is what it is. All right, this is some voodoo magic kind of stuff. When I started up the exhaust fan yesterday and put the new blower wheel in, I was running 2.4 inches of total external static, which was actually lower than before. So I put in a bigger motor, replaced the wheel with the identical wheel, and I was surprised because my static pressure was lower, so therefore I wasn't pulling as much air through the fan. Logic tells you. Well, we scheduled to have Captive Air come out today, and they came and helped me fine-tune the VFD. And there's some settings in there that they made, again, beyond my head here, that basically fine-tuned and was able to speed up the fan and get it operating better, to the point now that we are running right at 3.01, 3.02 total external static, 6.7 amps, and our airflow is increased. We actually measured airflow, and we are actually at manufacturer spec for airflow on this fan. So we are operating and all is good now. I do have to say it is a little disheartening to know that before we would just change a pulley and speed it up and then measure airflow, but now it's programming computer controlled drive, which I get efficiency and things like that, but it also makes it difficult for us as service technicians. So say for instance we have a bad drive, I don't know how to program that thing. You know, I'm gonna have to call tech support and they're gonna have to walk me through all the voodoo magic steps again to get it to program. But I understand that's the way we're going. That's not Captive Air's fault. That's, you know, us pushing for more efficiency, you know, utilities and different things, giving incentives for efficient equipment, and the government basically setting standards that our equipment has to be so efficient. So, you know, but it's just the way things are going, and it's definitely a roller coaster. You just got to kind of get on and hang on and go through it, you know, and we just, you know, we're going to be calling technical support a little bit more nowadays when we got all this computer controlled stuff, but all is well. We're going to go ahead and wrap this one up.
Okay, so it seems like this one just doesn't let me go. It's just a nightmare. I told the customer to start from the very beginning that they had ductwork issues because I could clearly see that the duct run was too long and the size of the duct was rather small. And you could clearly see it in the static pressure measurement that, you know, they're far exceeding the ratings of that fan. So, yeah, the customer, basically, they're a national chain, so they basically purchase their own exhaust fan, you know, and I just deal with a salesman at the exhaust fan company, and they came up with the solution of sending out a 5 horsepower motor to give more pull, basically, to compensate for the difference of the, you know, the long duct run. It's kind of crazy to think that we're pulling 3 inches of static pressure. I mean, if that wasn't stainless steel duct, holy moly, that stuff would be collapsed in on itself. It's insane. But, you know, after doing everything, you know, the airflow is verified. We have the right pull. I will say that it still seems like it's not quite where it should be. But, you know, I'm not the one measuring the airflow, and everything seems to be, you know, working. Realistically, and I don't fault the manufacturer for this at all either. I mean, realistically, they need to replace the ductwork, and that's the customer's decision to make. The manufacturer's just doing, you know, what the customer wants, essentially. So no fault to the manufacturer at all. They're doing, you know, what the customer's asking, and you know, we're just limited by budgets, basically. To change that ductwork would be insane. I do have to say, though, I still do not appreciate the design of this fan. It's rather ridiculous what you have to go through just to change a motor. It's pretty stupid, considering I had other people helping me too. I mean, most people will send one person out for a motor swap and no big deal, right? Well, this one, it's just not going to happen. And it's very important that you approach it, like I did, assuming that, stuff could go sideways. And, had I cut that off in the very beginning, who's to say whether or not I could get the shaft out? I mean, there's so many unknowns, so you have to approach it very carefully because bottom line, I needed the customer running the first day. So if I destroyed that fan, we would have been without a fan, period. You're not going to get that motor locally. You're not going to get that wheel locally. I mean, so you got to be so careful. And it's in this situation, I'm really, really working on the customer bringing in an actual spare exhaust fan, kind of like in the very first scenario with this one. I just so happened to have a spare exhaust fan that I was going to use at another restaurant, but I'd like to permanently have a spare exhaust fan for this customer just to be safe, to make sure that if we ever run into this problem again, we're not a creek basically without a paddle. So, just the weird things that you have to run into dealing with restaurants. You got to kind of, again, step back and look at the big picture and think about everything. You can't just go in there and just, start lobbing motors in and cutting shafts off and, and then realizing, uh-oh, what do I do now? Oh, well, so anyways, really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this. Give me some feedback down in the comments. I'm sure many of you would have done this differently. Let me know. I'm always looking to hear how you guys would have done things differently. This one has been a nightmare for me. On the flip side too, I did this the day before I left for AHR, which was a headache because I was worried the flight out. I was thinking, oh man, this fan's going to take a crap. Something's going to happen. I'm not going to be around. All ended up being okay and everything was fine. But yeah, all right, we'll catch you guys on the next one.